Welcome back to Right on the Edge. My name is Derek, and I just reacted to something that made me feel smart in the aviation field, even though it was a tragedy, okay? I'm laughing at me being smart, alright? Now I'm going to find something that makes me feel uh, extra smart, which is I would never be caught dead in a underground rave, no matter how cool the concept sounds. But let's find out what happened. And it says it ends in tragedy, so let's see what happens with the last terrifying minutes of the underground rave.
We will be looking at two horrifying
A
caving
cave
stories
rave.
that went horribly wrong. The first one, in particular, is a tragic rave that happened inside a cave during the pandemic that was
This is the only one I'm going to be reacting to.
doomed from the start. The second one is equally baffling, where caving under the influence of alcohol leads to a tragedy. As always, viewer discretion is advised. It's a Saturday night.
Not gonna lie to you, if you go caving while drunk, you deserve it. But I'll have a little bit more sympathy for drugged out ravers. just a little bit though.
In August 2020 in Oslo, Norway. And above the busy streets, people are heading home early. Bars close at midnight because of new coronavirus rules.
I'm glad that this didn't happen in America. It sounded like an America thing for a whole bunch of people cave raving to die, but Norway, that makes me feel a little bit better. Thanks, Norway.
Young people scroll through their phones, bored and restless. But deep beneath their feet, in a place forgotten by time, something incredible and incredibly dangerous is about to happen. 70 meters straight down, 220
I will admit, if nobody had died in this and it wasn't a tragedy, that would be dope. That'd be so dope.
9 feet. Buried deeper than a 20-story building is tall, sits a massive concrete cave. This isn't any ordinary cave. It's a bunker built decades ago to protect people during dangerous times. Imagine a space bigger than
Oh, interesting. Okay.
2 basketball courts, with thick concrete walls that could withstand almost anything. For years, it had been completely sealed off from the world above. But secrets have a way of surfacing.
Also, like if it's sealed off right, there's normally a reason, other than the fact that it's just like a random cave.
3 weeks before that fateful night, a message began spreading through social media like wildfire. It wasn't posted on public pages or shared openly. Instead, it moved through private groups, whispered from friend to friend in the digital underground. The message was simple but thrilling. Rave Cave, Saturday night. Tell no one. The very name
Which
sent
means-
shivers of excitement through
means
anyone who heard it.
Tell everyone.
A rave in a cave? It sounded like something from a
Is that an actual picture of it? Or is that AI generated? Because man, there's a lot more old people than I suspected.
movie. Dangerous, exciting, and completely unforgettable. But this wasn't just any cave. This was a secret fortress hidden beneath one of Europe's most modern cities. And now, it was the venue for a birthday celebration rave party. The planners knew they were walking on thin ice, but they were making their first critical mistake. The country had strict rules about gatherings. No more than 20 people for private parties.
Oh, fuck you. Yeah, that's all I'll say to that. Fuck you, you fucking liars. We all know it was a lie now, okay? It's not even conspiracy theory.
And definitely not the hundreds they were hoping for. Instead of respecting these safety guidelines designed to protect
Fuck you.
public health, they crafted their plan like master spies, organizing a secret mission. The instructions were specific. Arrive in tiny groups. Start coming at 11 p.m. Don't all show up at once. Don't attract attention. Find the hidden entrance in the St. Hanshaugen area. And whatever you do, don't get caught. Saturday evening arrived with
That
a
makes
kind of
sense.
electric anticipation that makes your heart race. The first ones made their way through Oslo's quiet streets, following cryptic directions to a spot that looked completely ordinary from above.
Nice.
But appearances can be deceiving. Hidden beneath their feet was an entrance no bigger than a crawl space.
Oh, wow.
Just 1 square meter, like trying to squeeze through a small window.
I mean, 1 square meter is pretty... I mean, that's decent, right? If you can crawl through your window, you can crawl through that.
Wooden boards had been covering this secret doorway, but someone had already pried them away, creating a portal into another world. One by one, adventurous young people began disappearing into the earth. Picture them squeezing through that tiny opening, flashlights in hand, descending into complete darkness.
I just don't think they would have descended like that. You know what I mean? Probably been the other way.
A party needs power, and power needs generators.
Oh my god.
Here's where
no
the
way.
organizers made their second deadly mistake. Diesel generators were wrestled through that narrow entrance, and these generators, they make noise. The
Wow.
organizers set them up in a room in the bunkers, and thinking they were being smart, they found an air shaft and sealed it up tight with plastic bags and duct tape. What they didn't
Yeah,
understand
that's
was that
stupid.
diesel generators produce carbon monoxide,
Lots
a
of
deadly gas that needs proper ventilation to escape safely. By sealing the room, they were creating a poison chamber. No noise would escape to alert the world above, but neither would the invisible killer building up inside. It seemed like the perfect plan, but it was actually a death trap waiting to spring. As word spread and more people arrived, something magical began to happen. The cold, empty bunker transformed into a pulsing, living creature of lights and sound. Imagine walking into complete darkness and suddenly being hit by waves of color dancing across ancient concrete walls. This wasn't just any party. This was like stepping into a secret world that existed parallel to the ordinary life happening.
I love all these dancing silhouettes, man. It's like you rated every Apple thing. But I agree, man. What a retarded thing to do by sealing it off. I don't even think that much noise would have escaped at that distance. You know what I mean?
Far above.
And if it did, most people wouldn't know what it was or how to find it.
Cars drove over their heads while below. Nearly 200 people danced in a space that had been designed to hide people from the dangers of war. Now, it was hiding them from the boredom of a world locked down by pandemic rules. The birthday celebration that had sparked this whole adventure
Good
became
job,
secondary to the
dude.
pure magic of the moment. Teenagers and 20-somethings who had been stuck at home for months danced like they were celebrating not just a birthday, but their escape from the ordinary world.
That's so
But even in
cool.
paradise, there are whispers of trouble, if only people knew how to listen. The third major mistake was happening right in front of everyone, but nobody recognized the warning signs. Some of the sharper partygoers began to notice something strange. The oxygen levels inside the cave started dropping dangerously low. There was no proper ventilation system. The oxygen in the bunker was being consumed by the 200 people dancing. The air felt different, heavier, like breathing through a thick blanket. These were the early symptoms of carbon
Yeah, and not only that, like we release carbon, like we breathe it out as well.
monoxide poisoning, dizziness, difficulty breathing, and the need for fresh air. But instead of recognizing these as danger signals that should have immediately cleared the party, people dismissed them as normal stuffiness. A few people started making trips to that tiny entrance, squeezing through the narrow opening to gasp fresh air under the stars above. One guy found himself climbing out repeatedly throughout the night. Each time he returned to the party, the air seemed thicker, more difficult to breathe. He told himself it was normal. Pack 200 people into any space and the
Oh
air
my
gets
God.
stuffy. This was the fourth mistake,
That's true,
ignoring
but
his
not
body's
true.
clear warning signals. What he didn't know was that his frequent trips outside were literally saving his life,
Yeah.
while those who stayed inside were slowly
Do you think they're smoking in there too? That's crazy.
being poisoned. Those plastic bags and duct tape that had seemed so clever were working too well. They weren't just keeping sound in, they were keeping something deadly in too. Carbon monoxide, an invisible killer that has no smell, no taste, no warning, was building up to lethal levels just
Oh, it
meters
has
away from
warnings.
the dancing
People just didn't
crowd.
recognize
The
them.
generators hummed away in their sealed prison, working harder and harder to power the lights and speakers. With every passing minute, they were producing more of the colorless gas that would soon turn paradise into a nightmare. Without any warning whatsoever, the world went black. The lights died, the music stopped. In an instant, 200 people went from dancing in colorful paradise to standing in complete, terrifying darkness.
Oh,
The silence
no.
was deafening
They're
after
gonna
hours of
open-
pounding music.
They're gonna
Confused
open the door
voices
too.
began calling out in the blackness. Then someone found the generator room door and broke it open. Imagine opening a door and being hit by an invisible wall of death.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Carbon monoxide rushed out like a silent tsunami, instantly overwhelming anyone in its path. 3 young men standing near the door collapsed unconscious immediately, their bodies simply shutting down as the poison invaded their bloodstream. Other partygoers rushed to help, not understanding what they were running into. They were hit by waves of dizziness and nausea, their vision blurring as they fought to stay calm.
Oh my god. Oh god, I'm getting caught up in this story. That's crazy. I
Conscious.
can't believe.
Some managed to grab their unconscious friends and drag them toward the entrance, but they had to keep running back out themselves, gasping for air, their heads spinning. But perhaps the biggest mistake of all was having only one exit. Picture the chaos. 200 people in complete darkness, many of them suddenly sick and confused, all trying to escape through an opening barely big enough for one person.
Hyperventilating,
The
breathing a
entrance that had
lot,
seemed like such an adventure
panicking.
on the way in now became a terrifying bottleneck.
Oh
In any
jeez.
emergency
God, I wonder what the results of this were.
situation, you need multiple escape routes, but the organizers had chosen a location with just one tiny exit, turning what should have been
I mean, it was cool. If they just let that vent open, it would have been pretty dope.
a quick evacuation
That would
into
have
a
been pretty
nightmare
dope.
of people fainting, stumbling, desperate to reach the surface. Above ground, Oslo police officers were finishing their routine patrol when they spotted something that made them stop. Several young people were wandering the streets, looking lost and confused.
Vomiting.
They seemed disoriented, like they
Yeah, I
didn't
bet
know
you
where
they
they
did.
were or what had happened to them. When the officers approached, the truth came tumbling out. There was an emergency happening beneath their feet. More people were emerging from what looked like
Good on the cop actually noticing that and not just being like, man, fucking crazy drunk teenagers.
nowhere, many of them clearly in desperate need of medical help. At 3:46 a.m. on Sunday morning, the emergency call went out. Fire trucks,
Man, that party went on a while. 11 to 3. Shit.
ambulances, and police cars raced through the empty streets towards St. Hanshaugen. What they found when they arrived was beyond anything they had trained for. The rescue workers descended into what had become a death trap. The carbon monoxide levels were so high they could have killed a person in minutes. The oxygen level had dropped so low
Oh,
that it was
God.
barely enough to keep someone alive. They expected to find dozens of unconscious people scattered throughout the bunker. Miraculously, they found 7 unconscious victims, but most people had managed to escape before the gas could claim them. The
That's
fire
good.
department worked through the night, using powerful fans to pump fresh air into the bunker, slowly making it safe for rescue operations. 25 people were rushed to Oslo University Hospital, their lives hanging in the balance. 7
Oh,
were unconscious,
holy
their
shit.
bodies fighting the effects of carbon monoxide poisoning. 5 were in critical condition, so close to death that doctors called their survival a miracle.
Man, I bet you they'll think next time about going to a cave rave. That's the only thing I can think about that, but Jesus Christ. If you happen to stumble across these videos, random people, and you know English, uh send me some pictures, man. I want to see what this looked like. It seems like it'd be really cool. Really dumb, but really cool. I'm gonna own up to it. It does seem really cool.
Even 2 police officers who had helped with the rescue were among those being
Oh,
treated,
man.
showing just how dangerous the situation had become, even after the party ended. Carbon monoxide is one of nature's most silent killers. It has no smell, no color, no taste, no way for humans to detect it until it's too late. It works by replacing oxygen
I don't know about you guys, but when I see stuff like this, I'm just breathing. Like, thank you, oxygen, for being here for me. You know what I mean?
in the bloodstream, slowly suffocating people from the inside while they remain completely unaware of what's happening. The doctors treating the victims were amazed that so many had survived. In the sealed bunker, with carbon monoxide levels many times higher than what's considered lethal, it should have been a mass casualty event that would have devastated families.
To be fair, passing out's kind of like your body's last defense to save yourself in this sort of situation because when you're passed out, your breathing reduces a lot, your heart rate reduces, and carbon monoxide is, I believe, lighter than air. So where they pass out on the floor allowed them to have more oxygen at that level than it would be if they'd been standing up.
Across Norway. As news of the incident spread across Norway and around the world, difficult questions began to surface. Questions that revealed even more mistakes in the chain of events. How had
No.
nearly 200 people managed to gather in a sealed bunker without authorities knowing?
That's a good
Most
question.
importantly, why had police tip-offs about the planned party been ignored? This was
Oh, they were tipped off. Oh, well, now it's your fault for sure. I mean, okay, in the end, it's their fault, but you play a role in it now because you were tipped.
perhaps the most tragic mistake of all. The authorities had been warned. People had called the police about the planned illegal gathering, but somehow these warnings fell through the cracks. If the police had acted on these tips,
That's crazy that they were ignored. Here, man, the cops have jumped on the opportunity.
25 people wouldn't have ended up in the hospital fighting for their lives. 2 people were charged with trespass.
But let's blame the people that went. You know, you can't blame the cops fully, right? Because it's like, why would they have had to be there if the people didn't go there? You know what I mean?
An unauthorized use of the bunker, but many felt this was hardly enough for an event that had put so many lives at risk. The religious foundation that owned the bunker quickly distanced themselves from the incident, calling it a serious break-in and denying any responsibility.
It's not their fault. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm like, it's not their fault. And a bunker like that could, like, it could be useful in the future, right? And it'd be a shame to fill it in.
But perhaps the most haunting question was the simplest. What if someone hadn't broken down that generator room door when they did? What if the party had continued for another hour, or 2, or 3? The carbon monoxide would have eventually leaked out anyway, but by then it might have been too late for anyone to escape. In the days that
Yeah, you might have found like 20 something people passed out in there dead or dead by the next day, only hoping that the generators had ran out of fuel before people died, you know. I guess they would need oxygen to run. That's the other thing that's sad about dumb about, you know, closing the vent is that the generator itself needs oxygen, so it would only run until the oxygen in that room ran out.
followed, all 25 victims slowly recovered, though some would carry the effects with them for years to come. The 3 people who had been unconscious the longest were kept for observation, their brush with death serving as a reminder of how
Yeah,
quickly
they
celebration
kind of
can
got
turn to
punished.
catastrophe.
All right. Well, that's all I'm gonna watch. Is the last terrifying minutes of an underground rave by On the Verge. And so if you like this, if you'd like to see more like it, though admittedly I don't want to do caving ones because they creep me out. This was a little bit different because they're not going into 6-inch like little fucking tunnels of retardedness. But yeah, if you'd like to see more of these or something like that, like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.